All right, good morning, everybody. I want to call to order the East Brandywine Township Board of Supervisors AM meeting for Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. I want to remind everybody a recording device will be in use during this meeting. And we're going to open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public. We have public comment for agenda items. Rules for conduct of public meetings established by Resolution 2001-08 states that the time allocated to each individual making a comment shall be 3 minutes unless otherwise set by the presiding officer. Additional public comment may be granted at the discretion of the presiding officer at the conclusion of the meeting. Will be 3 minutes. Is that okay, audience? Is there any public comment? All right, moving on to the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes from the June 20th, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 2024 Board of Supervisor meeting.
Thank you. I will second it. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The treasurer's report and authorization to pay bills and approve payroll. I've reviewed the treasurer's report and the bill list, and I will make a motion to approve the treasurer's report, authorization to pay the bills, and approve the payroll.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're into old business, which there's none. New business. Item 6A, I'm going to change the word approval to acceptance, because we did not approve the audit report. That's the job of the, what was it? That's the job of the audit committee. I have looked over the report. I came here yesterday, got a copy of it, I did look over it. What it is, just for your general knowledge, it's not a audit of in a traditional business sense. It's the audit of the DCED annual report. And it is on our website, Luke?
Correct.
So you can look at it. In other words, there's no footnotes or anything. It's just classifying the expenses and the categories that required under the second-class township code. So I'll make a motion that we accept the BBD audit for the year ending December 31st, 2023.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Permission to hire Matthew Hensel to Road Department. Mr. Van Loo.
Thank you. After an extensive search, we made an offer of employment to Mr. Matthew Hensel, which he has accepted. Matt lives in Salisbury Township, is married with children. He has experience in small engine repair. He's worked for his father's business for over 8 years, and he's also received diesel and automotive training. Matt passed the criminal record check required for new employees, and I respectfully request approval from the Board of Supervisors to hire Matthew Hensel to the Public Works Department.
I'll make a motion to hire Matthew Hensel for the Road Department.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Update on trash hauler RFP, Mr. Revin.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In your packet this morning is a document labeled Addendum 1 to the bid specifications for the curbside collection of municipal solid waste. At a previous meeting, the board authorized me to distribute and solicit quotes for a new contract beginning the 1st of next year. In the time since that, I got a series of questions from potential bidders that I wanted the board to be aware of. The addendum is in the form of questions and answers from multiple bidders. I'm going to focus on just 3 questions and my answer for the benefit of the board here. One, and I think perhaps the most significantly, there have been questions. We have a bid option to buy, deliver, and assemble trash carts throughout the community. Some contractors have indicated that they are unable to serve the community unless we accept that bid option. I've advised them that they should bid on the township as is and not bid with the option to buy the carts. If we decline that option, they will not be able to serve our community. So my advice to them is that they not bid unless they can serve the community as is. I think this has implications for when we do consider issuing or awarding the contract to the low bidder, whether or not we accept the bid option to buy the carts. I think this influences that decision. I think my suggestion to the board will be that we do buy trash carts for the community, so as to make a wider range of potential contractors who can serve our community. I think it would be a lower cost option and introduce more competition in getting the lowest price to serve our community. A second question that came up is, would we be open to the community having more than one collection date? My response is, that's not what the contract says. Please do not bid that. However, I will say that that is not something that I'm opposed to in a future contract. It's, frankly, I did not consider offering more than one collection date as part of the bid specs. And the third and final question that we get related to what we've advertised is, are we committed to the Toter brand carts? My response is yes, and our rationale for so doing is we would like to have one standard supplier of trash and recycle carts so that we can have an inventory of the necessary supplies to maintain them and not have 2 different brands floating around. So I will be sending out this addendum later today, but because it has implications for who bids on this contract, I did want to share it with the board.
Are we allowed to discuss this?
I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
At first blush, and I was also concerned about 2 separate days for collection. But then upon thinking about it, I think that might help the bid pool. Right now, when you really look at it, we've eliminated, or a couple people have eliminated themselves based on their questions. So we're a much larger township than we were 15, 20 years ago when we first started this process, with many more stops, almost 3,800 stops, is it?
Yeah, I don't recall the exact number, but
Right,
they're
but
different for trash and recycling.
Right, by about 100 for some reason. But anyway, so if this would help the bid pool, you could make an argument that people will be confused, but you wouldn't split a neighborhood. You would have one side of 322 and the other side of 320. You'd make something easy on collectors, and if that allows them to give us better service at a less expensive price, then I would be okay with 2 separate days. Is it possible to amend the contract at this point, based on questions?
You have to re-advertise it, because you may have, in other words, there may be bidders out there that haven't picked up a bid package that would have if they would have known it could be a 2-day collection. So you can't just do it by telling the current folks that pick up the bid package, we're changing it to 2 days.
I'm not suggesting this morning that we retract our current offer and advertise a different one. I am,
I understand that.
I am,
I'm just worried that we're only going to have one bidder.
right. So certainly the spirit of competitively bidding this out is to get healthy competition among multiple eligible, qualified contractors. As I become aware of components of our current bid specs that disqualify, I felt that I wanted to share those with the board. But I am not at this time suggesting that we rebid it. But if in August, when we're awarding the contract, you hear me say, I think we should accept the bid option to buy these carts, I'd like to, I'm laying the groundwork as to why I would recommend such a thing. Because not being automation ready, as in being able to serve our whole community with a truck, a hydraulic arm, and one operator, but instead requiring a truck, an operator, and someone who travels alongside the truck to tip non-standardized trash cans, is restricting the pool of bidders that we're receiving.
Right, I mean, we have, of the questions you brought up, each one of them most likely will eliminate a bidder. Now, we could, when the bids come in, if we want to, we can always reject them and rebid at that point, right?
You have time before the termination of the contract. at
You have the
end of
January
year.
1st.
Yeah, Probably have time to do that.
So yeah, any,
Well, I mean, it sounds like the path that we're on set up for that purpose, you know, so we can stay on track with the bids. Now, if we want to, if you go back and change the bid specs, where does that put us? You know, if you want to open it up to toters and you want to open it up to multiple collections, then you're back to putting this back out.
Right,
Now, does the time,
but we just put it out, what, 3 weeks ago?
you know,
not even.
Not even 3 weeks,
The
so
last
it's not a
meeting, yeah.
long process. It's like a
So,
30-day process to rebid.
it's not going to put us behind if we decide we want to go that route with regards to modifying the bid specifications and seeing if we can, you know, interest some other bidders. Because it sounds like right now we're kind of narrowing the pool.
We've got every bidder that, every potential bidder is, in a reasonable area has picked up a bid. The problem is, 3 of our bidders got bought out by one company.
I understand, but, you know, the restriction of the toters versus the multiple pickup, you're going to lose those bidders. Am I correct?
We can't, no one has been so explicit. You know, so I asked that this be on the agenda, and I wanted to share this information with the board. I think this has implications beyond just bidding out, but the way service is provided in East Brandywine Township. And because it has implications for the way we serve the community, I wanted to keep the board abreast of my thinking on this. It is not currently my suggestion that we retract what we advertise now and reissue it with different specs. But as I mentioned, so in August when we're considering this, if you hear me say the words, I think we should accept the bid option and buy carts, you know what my line of thinking is. I also want the board to be prepared for the possibility that there's a few bidders, that we didn't get a lot of bids, right?
Multiple collection days, that's going to raise another question with regards to having the trucks on the streets, you know, these multiple days. And then if there is a problem and they have to come back, then you're going to increase the amount of time that you have trash trucks on the local streets, which you're ultimately going to get complaints about that because people are in a hurry to get where they're going and are getting behind a trash truck more frequently than they would have. And that's just a thought.
I agree, but anecdotally, I don't have any statistics, most townships do use multiple days now. Like, take down at the shore, they do, at Ocean City, they do the north part of the island one day, and the next day they do the south part. That way they have one crew working
No,
6
that's-
days a week.
Yeah,
Same thing in West Bradford, they use multiple days.
well,
now.
they've got their own truck.
They do it to be efficient, right?
If I may add to that calculus, our contract and the contract of other municipalities that utilize these service providers restrict other municipalities' solid waste or recycle flows from any truck. So every truck that we see on 322 is 100% segregated. The material that's going to the landfill came from one single municipality. So, as frustrating as it can seem, if there was a missed stop on our regular trash day of Tuesday, we can't just pick any truck that goes by and ask them to swing by and pick it up,
Right.
because the trash must be segregated. So another consideration for having any contractor in our community in more than one day of the week is that they would be able to reroute and collect more easily. A missed stop in an area that wasn't covered.
All right, but I think the consensus is let's have the bids come in as written.
This is just one of those things, this is benefit of hindsight. As soon as we advertise it, half a dozen things crop up. And I'm like, I didn't think of that, didn't think of that.
Well, I didn't realize totes were different. We have quite an investment in our current totes. How many totes do we have in stock?
Well, I'm going to use round numbers. There's about 100 in inventory and about 3,000 in the field on those recycle carts.
Right. Okay.
100 in inventory, by the way, is not enough for planned units in the next few years.
Dan,
So we will need to be purchasing more. So, information item. Thank you for humoring me.
right. All right, we'll move on. Bondsville Mill parking lot certification, certificate for payment.
Yeah, and now this is an action item. Pannoni, in a letter in your packet, is recommending that we issue the final payment to the contractor for Phase 4 of the Bondsville Mill project work. That's the construction of a parking lot. There were change orders amounting to $17,400 throughout the scope of the project, and Pannoni is recommending that we pay the contractor $121,331.40. And I believe that check is in your packet this morning as well. I will point out that this is a grant-funded project. We received grants from both the county and the state.
The change order, is that covered by the grant, or is that coming out of our capital?
Well,
I'm not questioning the need for the change order.
Right.
I'm questioning which bucket does it come out of?
okay, well, we
The
first.
empty one or the almost empty one?
I said it's a grant-funded project, but even, it is a grant-associated project. There is a local match for grant funding. So, I think the first thing is with or without the change order, there would be a local match. Similar to the base contract, the change order is part grant-funded and part local match. The exact percentage, I can't tell you. I seem to recall it's in the range of 90%, as in 90% of that is paid by the grant.
Okay, I'm looking at the change order. I have a question. Did Pannoni design the parking lot, or was it just here, make the parking lot?
Yeah, the bid specifications for the parking lot were created by Pannoni, yes.
Then how come we have to, evidently they missed the width of the entrance, because that's part of the change order, is widening entrance.
don't remember the exact sequence of events.
How could it-
It was prudent, based on having the equipment on site, to make the change order and address an issue that became apparent on site. Matt, if I may, do you remember the sequence of events there?
Yeah, during the final walkthrough, with the contractor and Pannoni, the engineer, we noticed that the very curve towards the bridge did not allow two vehicles to pass safely. And that was a line of sight issue, because as soon as you come across the bridge, you can't see vehicles coming out of the parking area. The base was there, so all they really needed to do was put down additional stone in that area to allow two vehicles to cross at that point.
Thank you for clarification.
Sure.
Yep, thank you. I'm still wrestling it mentally. How could they miss that in their design work? You're supposed to check site clearances and.
Well, so I think the missing part of that question is, we don't know who will bid or how much they will pay. And it's a similar problem that we have when we're talking about the waste hauler. You have to describe a product and then throw it out into the universe and then have people respond, I'll do that for X dollars. And if you describe a product that no one can deliver or that only one person can deliver, you will pay a fortune for it. If you describe so there is pressure at the front end to keep the scope minimum so that we don't wind up rejecting all bids. But the experience in the field may necessitate a change order that is still within the budget.
I understand all that, and you and Alexis, neither of which are experienced waste haulers, did a great job on the waste hauling contract. Pannoni's are professional engineers. And in fact, our traffic engineers now. Just,
I agree they are professionals,
Paid a
but they
lot of money
are,
for that.
perhaps unfortunately, not psychic. I don't think they would know. If you'll recall,
Engineering is-
the original scope of the bathroom project in the community park was we did some design work for, with an idea of connecting that new bathroom in the community park to public sewer, rather than what's built there now, which is a prefabricated building with a holding tank. They did a great deal of work in designing that scope and then put it out in the universe for bids. And the bids came in more than the site work, more than the entire budget for the whole project. And so we wound up rejecting all of those bids because we did not have the money to pay for it. So at that point, you could say, Pannoni, man, did you over-engineer this? We couldn't afford it. And in this case, we have how could you have missed X? I kind of feel like we've got them between a rock and a hard space. They're using their professional expertise to make a design to meet a budget, but they ultimately can't know what the bids will be.
all right, I'm not picking on anybody, I'm just trying to. That's the whole reason you bid. Okay, do we need a motion on this, since we've already approved it when we approved the bills?
Yeah, actually, if you look at page 2 of the packet material at the bottom, there is a line for owner's acceptance. At this time, I'd respectfully ask the board to authorize me to execute the certificate for payment prepared by Pannoni. Again, circling back to the agenda item, why it's here, my spending authority is $10,000 for budgeted items. This is $171,000, hence I'm asking the board for permission to execute this record, this document.
All right, I make a motion that we certify the Bondsville Mill parking lot for payment of $121,331.40.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Stump grinding?
Did they find any of the daffodils? While they were messing around with the
Can't let
parking
it
lot.
go.
No, this is public money, I can't believe.
It's 90% grant.
The daffodils, I know, but the,
That's public money too.
I know, but it's not our public.
I'm just, anyway, okay. Subdivision and zoning ordinance applications, none. And ordinances and resolutions for consideration, Resolution 10 of 2024, appointment of Nicole Hatton to the zoning hearing board. Mr. Rev.
Yeah, unlike our other appointments, our code requires that appointments to the zoning hearing board be done by resolution. Accordingly, Secretary Traskey has prepared a resolution appointing Nicole Hatton to the zoning hearing board, and at this time, I'd respectfully ask the board to adopt the same.
Is she currently on the planning commission?
She's a former member of the zoning hearing board.
Former member of the zoning.
She had to step down when she moved out, and she moved back in to the township. She's a wonderful young lady.
No, I know, her. That's why I just,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if she was on.
She got a good background. I think she'll be a great asset.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 10 of 2024, appointment of Nicole Hatton for the zoning hearing board.
I'll second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any public comment? Notices there were no executive sessions held prior to this meeting. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.